Got a snow day tomorrow, so.
Oh, nice. You know already?
Yes.
What's up, party people?
Hey, what's up, Frankie?
Oh, hi, Frankie.
Jeff, clean your room.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dodgeball Podcast. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and recap the East Round 1 Elite Tournament that took place this past weekend. And here to help me do so, once again, is Amanda, Frankie, Emily Hotz, and Jeff. I almost wanted to call you Baby Jeff off the start, but why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself, your team, and we'll make the rounds. Start with you, Jeff.
All right, Jeff Giovinco. I play on Impact for 8.5, and I play with Hello for co-ed.
Awesome.
I'm Amanda Natalie. I play with Royale for women's and Nightshift for co-ed.
And I'm Emily Hotz, and I am the same teams as Amanda, Royale for women's and Nightshift for co-ed.
Awesome.
Frankie Gianetto, Team Awesome, and Nightshift for co-ed.
Very cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for hopping on, and I mean, here we are. And also, Jeff, thanks for coming on last minute. Kind of just plucked you out of nowhere without any warning, so no pressure, right?
No problem.
But yeah, we just wanted to get some coverage in the co-ed division as well, so definitely appreciate you. But yeah, let's just want to dive right in, and I guess we can probably start with you, Frankie. What was what's like your overall takeaway from round one now that it's said and done?
So I think the big theme so far for the East Coast is a lot of changing teams. There's a lot of new teams, and I really can't think of one team that didn't have at least one roster switch this year. So I feel like the teams that had a little more experience and had more experienced players were able to go further in the brackets in every division, and the teams that weren't took some time to gel, but had struggled a little bit, sans Jeff's team.
I see. What about you, Emily? What were your kind of big takeaways?
I felt like some of the big takeaways were some of the rule changes, like the best of 7 games. I felt like that was a pretty big difference. And then the single elimination was also a pretty big, it just felt very different. So it was interesting sort of getting used to those new rule changes.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to, I definitely wanted to bring that up, but I guess now's as good a time as any. Did you like the single elimination format, Emily?
We ended up doing really well in both divisions, so it worked out really well for us. I think it took a little bit of pressure off when you do win those games of just not really thinking like, okay, we knocked that team down, we won that series, but yet they could still come back and beat us next time because a lot of these teams are really good. So I appreciated that about the single elimination. I just think the point of doing the best of 7 games was to try to cut down on timing of the tournament, and yet we were playing after 10:30 p.m. because most of the series seemed like they went to all 7 games. So I don't really know if that cut back on time.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember reading or seeing things like, why is it running so late? And maybe that's something that we can also talk about. But going to go to you, Amanda. What was your thoughts overall from this past weekend, or from, I guess, yesterday?
Yeah, I think Frankie and Emily both said the two things I was going to say. The women's division this year has another new team, which is great. But again, I don't think a single team is the same as it was last year. Teams have merged. We have some players from Canada on one of the teams this year. So the teams look completely different. And I think the biggest difference was definitely the single elimination. Knowing that once you were out, you were done for the day, you didn't have a chance to come back. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Definitely the biggest changes.
One big change, you're playing, so that's great, right?
Yeah.
Are you fully healed and like you're?
I would say I'm at like 95%. I don't know if I'll ever be back to 100%, but just going with it.
Awesome. Well, it's good to see that you're fully back now, and yeah, and how about you, Jeff? What were your thoughts overall for Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest changes were really kind of what they said. As far as the single elimination, I actually was kind of a fan of it. I didn't think I was going to be. I'm a big fan of having like a second chance to come back and like redeem yourself if you screw up on something. But I kind of like this because it made every game that much more important. You couldn't kind of like you had to be on your toes during all round robin, and then the best of seven series. Even though I don't know if it cuts down on time or if that's what it was designed for, but like it was just nice having a best of seven series because then there's less of a chance of like, oh, that team won that first game because of a weird deflection play, and now your back's up against the wall. And you had more of a chance that like the team that played better throughout would be the one that wins that series.
Yeah, it almost sounds like at first single elimination would be just not forgiving at all, and if you have a bad like round or two, you're just done. You get to go home, and that sucks. But I think 4 out of 7 gives teams a chance to kind of pull together. I experienced this when I went to the Dodgeball Tribune tournament. It was weird at first playing in a single elimination format, but then when we were playing against, I think, Gridlock, there was a point where either team could have taken it. Like I think we took the first 2 games, and that would have ended it right there. But because it was a series, it was just different all around. So I don't know how I feel about it. I guess I won't experience it until round 3. But I'm curious to see like how West goes. But one question I had for you, Jeff, and sorry for being so ignorant, but when did you start playing Elite? Just want to get some more insight on you real quick.
My first Elite round that I ever did was 3 years ago. I think it was Boston, or it was New York. It was like Brooklyn round 2.
Gotcha.
I think I played with Ram Jam for 1 round. My first full year was 2 years ago. I did with Mutiny. So that was like me, my brother Drew, and then we had some other people from Awesome and like Jordan Burkowski. And we kind of varied our players throughout the rounds that year. And then last year I played with Brick Squad for the full year. And then now we kind of formed our own team as Impact, and we're going to be riding that out for a while.
Gotcha. Any reason why you're not on Awesome?
Me and my brothers just don't mesh well together when we play together.
Gotcha. Frankie and Man are just grinning right now.
Yeah, it was just tough. Like we would have chemistry, but like we would be yelling at each other too much, and and they're getting older, so the time is now, old man.
Oh man, that freaking meme. Okay, I gotcha. All right, yeah, thanks for helping me put that together a little bit, because I'm assuming, Giovinco, you must be on Team Awesome. I made that mistake earlier. I'm definitely going to cut that out, but glad I got that underway. So speaking of, was Brick Squad, are they coming back, or did I miss them? I'm looking at the bracket here.
Nah, they're broken up right now just because Sean is playing West Coast this year. Chris Wheeler went to Awesome, and then Andy Smith is playing with Awesome for this round and next round, right, Frankie?
Correct.
Yeah, and then the other 2 players from Brick Squad are just not playing Elite this year.
Gotcha.
And then Nar went to GOAT.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Because somebody made that comment on, I think, one of the streams saying is Chris Wheeler playing for Awesome, so I immediately started looking for, here we go, Chris Wheeler, and I guess parentheses, and Andy Smith on Team Awesome, so that's part of that shakeup, I guess. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. What other teams were part of that shakeup or part of that the change? And this can go to anybody for both co-ed and women's as well.
So on the women's side, KO and Anarchy joined together. We play with Anarchy all the time in practice. We practice with them, but then we'd go and play against them. So our goal was to kind of keep as many local players as possible so we could practice together regularly. And then Precision broke up. They still have a team, but Tasha and Flo left and started their own team. They created Clash.
Okay.
I think the only teams that stayed pretty consistent were Venom and clutch mode, but I still think that within that there's still a new player or two in there, I believe, on each team. So there was a lot of changes happening in the women's division.
Gotcha. So is it fair to say KO and Anarchy became Royale? Like that's where those teams
Yes.
came from? Okay. And then Clash mostly came from Precision?
Yeah. Precision has a lot of the same players, but Tasha and Flo left and started Clash, from what I understand.
Okay. So Precision's still around, right?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I could just check the darn thing. Let's see. Okay, so we got Precision. I didn't know Clutch Mode had a women's team.
Yep, this is their second year.
Okay.
And there was a couple new women's teams as well, Devil's Advocate, Stealth Mode, and then Clash and Royale. So.
Gotcha. Let's see. Well, I guess we can kind of just go into the women's division since we're kind of talking about it right now. But what was... I mean, it looks like Royale was pretty much the dominating force. Was that the case? Or, Emily, did you guys have anybody give you a hard time? Or what was that like playing in that bracket?
Clash definitely gave us the run for our money, both in round robin and in the bracket. As if you're looking at the bracket, you can see that we went 4-3 against them in finals. So we won the first 3 games, and then they won the next 3. And so it came down to the 7th game. So I know there was like the question of like, how does it feel to come back from a 3-0, from a 3-0 standpoint? And for, a second there we thought that was going to happen. So it felt really nice to finally win one, but they're definitely gonna be a hard team to beat moving forward.
Gotcha. And I wonder if you're echoing, was it Adam DeMeyer, his question about like how much better does a 3-1 comeback feel versus in a 1-0 comeback? I mean, obviously that didn't happen, but that probably made the game that much more suspenseful, and probably a good thing you guys didn't lose that one after a 3-0 lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely makes it feel a little bit more earned. Like Jeff was saying, I feel like sometimes you can just have a bad game, some bad ricochets, some grazes where it's just like sort of luck at that point. So if they're really going to come around and beat us like 4 games in a row, I would be like, wow, they really deserve that. But we clinched that last game, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I mean, a ricochet could really just go the wrong way, or a tipped catch, or just something just that doesn't really point because of skill. It was just like just a random coincidence or a series of events. So being able to say, yeah, no, we beat this team 4 times, like, yeah, that was supposed to happen. That was definitely the way it was supposed to go. Did any of you guys, Amanda or Emily, have any takeaways from Venom? I'm curious to see how they looked. Looks like they got knocked out right away, but in terms of round robin and just overall, how did they look?
They looked good in round robin. They ended up with the 3 seed. I believe they went 4-2, so I think that they only lost to Royale and Clash. And then going into the bracket, they started out 3-0, so they just needed to win that next game. And Devil's Advocate actually came back and won 4 in a row to beat them. So I think it was a little bit of a shock to everyone to see that happen. But Nicole Napoli played with Devil's Advocate, and she definitely was a big reason why they did so well yesterday.
Big reason as in like throwing a lot, catching all around, just...
I didn't see her make a lot of catches, but I wasn't necessarily watching them. But there was one game I watched for, not necessarily against Venom, I don't remember who they were playing, but she took out 5 of the 6 players on the other team. So she was just hitting everything yesterday.
Yeah, she was definitely on fire and just doing some really smart plays and some good dodges. So I definitely noticed that too.
That's awesome. Devil's Advocate, they're not a new team, right?
They are a new team.
They are, okay.
Yeah. And a lot of first-time Elite players, I believe, as well, which was really cool to see them come out.
Yeah, I'm usually not calling Tyler out because I know he's busy, but usually like the power rankings would be out around this time, so it'd be kind of cool to kind of match faces with names and teams. But aside from Nicole, were there any other players that really just showed up during that division?
So from Clash. Their whole team was phenomenal, but have Marcel in the corner was like super noticeable. Anytime you went up to the line, you just never knew if she was going to counter, if you were throwing at her, you never knew if she was going to catch. So I've never played against her before, and I was super aware of her on the court. Tasha is always super difficult to get out. I think she beat us in a game in the elimination bracket, where I think we might have been up 4-on-1 against her, and she came back and won, I believe. So just like, you know, she's super, super good at dodging, super good at blocking, has a great arm. So she played super well. Danielle Zielinski is always making plays. It's just their whole team is good. So they all played super well yesterday.
Yeah, they also had an Emily on their team. I don't know her last name. I think it starts with a B.
Baumgartner.
Yeah, and she was playing on the other corner usually. And she was also a lot of pressure, playing up at the line, making a lot of counters too. Clash was a really, really great team.
Gotcha. Yeah, props to whoever's putting their social media together, because it's really helpful. And then also, I think we talked about her briefly coming back when I was interviewing Jenny Hodge. That's a name I recognize from, I think, Arkham. And then how did the Gio do? Danielle? Did you get a chance to watch her, Jeff, at all, or?
I didn't really get to see much of them in the women's, just because the women's court was on like the complete opposite side of the building. I had no clue where they were even playing. During co-ed though, she was doing just about as well as she always does. She was making some catches, good heads up plays and everything.
Gotcha. You right there, Amanda?
Yeah. No, she was, again, just like playing great defense, you know, pump faking, getting people back from the line. She's another one that pulls out those sneaky catches where you're just when you least expect it. So she was always a threat when she was on the court. I was really excited because Jenny Hodge was back for the first time since her ankle injury at round 3, which happened to be at the same gym that we were playing at. So this was her first time back at that location. She was really nervous, but she was on fire. Her throw, I think she's gotten stronger in the off season because she was just lighting people up. So that was really exciting to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was actually going to ask about her because obviously, again, got to know her a little bit more last weekend, and she said that she's got pretty large hands. So I wonder if that translates to being able to throw really hard, and make you laugh there with that comment. But I can't wait to see her play now. Yeah. How many Jeff? How many Geos are there out there? Like, are there going to be any more dodgeball players coming in from your family, or?
No, there's 5 of us total, like 5 kids. Only 3 of us play. So,
but a couple of the girlfriends are starting to play.
Both girlfriends and a wife.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I would say the other ladies that definitely stood out on the women's side, just to sort of add a little bit, I think Sam Girardi was playing really good defense. She wears this really cool silver mouth guard now too, and it's like super awesome. It looks totally badass, which is cool.
Intimidating.
But she was playing really well, and as always, Ashley from Venom also was just on her game. She's definitely a big threat on that team, and we always, have to watch her pretty closely and try to target her pretty quickly off the bat. And the one other thing, I know Amanda's on with us this podcast, but running the women's division and co-ed and playing with her, she did a phenomenal job. So I just want to give her some props for that.
Oh, nice. I mean, it's early, but do you think Royale, Clash, and Precision are going to be the dominating teams moving forward, or do you think this can be like anybody's division still?
I would probably say Royale, Clash, and then Precision or Venom, sort of depending on who's on fire those days.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 100%.
Very cool. Let's see. Let's go ahead and move on to co-ed no sting. So we had 21 teams here, and I'm assuming you guys played in all divisions, right? Yeah, co-ed as well.
Yep.
What did that look like overall, Frankie? You've been kind of silent for a little bit, so throw you in here.
Sure. So it was slow. Round robin, I don't feel like most teams are very accurate, and that took a while. But by playoffs, I think it got really fun. There were a lot of really close matches. I know for us, we were the lower seed that got to go far. Nightshift was 12, and we made it to second before Jeff's team Hello stomped us. But a lot of our games, we had some 4-2s, some 4-3s with like a 10-minute back and forth with Aftershock. On the other side of the bracket, I'm pretty sure that Awesome and Hello was a pretty close 4-2 game. I don't know how that started. I think it was 2-2, and then Jeff's team won 2. So I think as the bracket moved on, it started to get a lot more intense and competitive, even though everyone was tired, and it was like 9 p.m. at that point. The one switch that we didn't bring up in the rules that impacted a lot, and I think you see it a lot here in co-ed, with the seeding now going to match win percentage first, your round robin mattered a lot. So there's some teams that maybe they had, I don't know if they had an easier round robin or they were just very dominant in round robin, but the seeds got really shook up in co-ed. If you look at the top half of the bracket, I think like the 1, 4, and 5 seed all got knocked out within their first or second game.
Yep.
And then the bottom half, I think that one went a little more chalk. But seeding definitely got shook up a lot in co-ed, and I think that was probably due to match win percentage being heavier, so round robin games really mattered.
Do you think some teams didn't really take that into consideration? Because I'm not saying teams will sandbag, but they'll kind of just take it easy and then save everything they have for bracket play. Do you think that might have impacted some of these guys?
I think definitely. I know once co-ed starts, people normally at that point are all like, oh, like I'm so tired, I don't want to play anymore, because both the men and the women have played a full division. So I think when it's first starting, people are like taking it easy, trying to like switch to a different ball and keep going. But again, by playoffs, everyone seemed more accurate. It was very competitive.
Gotcha. And maybe you can chime in on this one, Amanda. Do you think the single elimination is what caused the games to go so long, or caused the day to go so long, and the best 4-7, or was it like other circumstances?
So I think what caused it to go so long was the time getting everyone started. So it's loud in the gym. It's hard to get people on the courts. It's hard to get the refs to the courts. And then when you have 7 games and you have teams huddling after each game for 20, 30 seconds, that's happening 6-7 times.
Got it.
That adds on 3 or 4 minutes every match too. So I don't think it's necessarily the fact that we did the, single elimination 7 games, because it's less games theoretically than a double elimination bracket, which is usually twice the size. But open ran long, then we had showdown in between, plus getting the court set up and all that for showdown. And so it's just a lot of things that added to it. So hopefully we can make some changes, just some small changes on that end, and make round 2 a little bit faster.
Gotcha. So just a lot of little things, kind of like the death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just seconds here and there. Gotcha. Let me look at some of these teams here. What are the new teams here? Is Taken new?
Yeah, Taken's new. They're from Jersey. It's some players that play with Mount Olympus. So Mount Olympus kind of has players on both teams.
Got it.
They're old trampoline teams.
Okay. And then Impact, Jeff, you said that's your open team, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had already 7 players on our open roster. So like that would be a lot of players. So we decided to split our roster into 2 teams. So
perfect.
It's Hello and Impact are kind of like our players split.
Gotcha. I was going to ask why you're with them,
but
never mind.
Yeah, the Hello team was like three of us from Impact, and then we picked up like 2 other players. Like we picked up Chris Wheeler and then Tyler Alcantara, and then we had our girls.
Gotcha. And Zero, is that Dr. Kwan's team?
That's Alfred's team. They have kind of a hodgepodge of guys from all over for Open, and then TJ and Steve are with us for Nightshift, and the other guys are playing with them for co-ed.
Gotcha. And then Nightshift, obviously not new. Dark Side, are they new?
No.
They've been around?
They played last year. They're from New York.
I see. So Jeff, I wanted to ask you about Space Cadets. Again, I've been kind of following them a little bit, but how was your match against them?
In elimination? Is that for me?
Yeah, during I think you took, it was 4-1.
Yeah, we were pretty dominant for the most part. They're a tricky team though, just because like the players on that team, like you're pretty confident going in against them, but then you have players like Adam Demir. He's just like he'll just catch you on like he has such awkward throws that like if you're not paying attention, he'll just sneak one in on you. And then they have Drew in their other corner, who's always been a solid arm, and then Jason Blue, when he's on, he catches almost everything.
Gotcha. Do you think not having Colin impacted him? Because I think he told me he left before or right after Open.
They lose a catcher from that, but overall, I don't think it affected them too much. I don't think it was too much of an effect on them.
Gotcha. And then, so going back to Frankie, sorry about that. So I wanted to kind of ask you to just kind of walk me through your series here, but what threw me off is this 7 mode, or am I just not reading this right?
Z mode.
Z mode, okay. Yeah, I don't know why that threw me off so bad, but I was like, I just forgot who I am for a second. So can you kind of walk me through that match?
Sure. So our first match was, since we were one of the lower seeds, kind of a playing game. And it went pretty heavily in our favor. And then we played Z mode. Z mode is just like Jeff's team and most teams, honestly. Clutch mode kind of takes their 7 guys and splits them. And then clutch mode has a lot of female players as well, so they're able to fully do 2 teams. So this was the other clutch mode team. And it really came down in that match. They had one guy, I think his name is Brian Baker, who was just slinging it. So if we got him out early, those games went pretty nicely, and then games where he was in there for a while were really close, but we did wind up 4-0ing them. I think 2 of them were probably close. Amanda or Emily, you could correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think it was probably like 2 games where we just ran over them and 2 that were really close and they got a lot of us out.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I definitely was nervous going in because we did not play well in round robin. I think we started off 0-3, and I think we got 2-0'd in most of those matches. So I wasn't super confident walking in. We played well against Darkside, but walking into Z-Mode sitting at a 5 seed and hearing about how well they had played in round robin, I was definitely nervous. But we made some good plays. We got a couple of lucky double hits in a couple of the games. So it was nice to make it through round 2 pretty easily and feel like we had some momentum.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think the biggest switch was we were finally hitting our shots. I felt like all 7 of us were actually getting hits, whereas in round robin it would be like 1 or 2 per game. Mostly Nar was really accurate, and everyone else it was like, we'll see. Maybe like 1 every 3 throws you might be on target.
Gotcha. Do you think it was transitioning from open and women's into co-ed that might cause that, or the like initial hiccup? Or
I feel like noticing it's just harder to be accurate. It's just kind of how it is for everyone. I mean, women didn't transition at all for that, but guys definitely, I feel like they...
Well, we have to transition from having a neutral zone and throwing at 20 feet to 25 feet.
Yeah,
and that definitely takes a little bit of an edge off of your throw. But it's just getting used to that center line and remembering that you have to stop.
Just out of curiosity, anybody just walk over the center line, like any of those?
I'm pretty sure Nar did in our first game.
First game, first time he touched a ball, first time on our team for co-ed.
I hate when it happens to me, but I love when it happens to other people. It's just so funny to watch. You're like, hey, wait, where are you going?
Yeah.
Emily, you've been kind of silent for a little bit. How was your co-ed experience?
I had a great time playing co-ed. I feel like I usually play sort of left corner or second in on the left, and was playing next to Nar, and he was making phenomenal blocks, great snipes, counters. When we threw together, we usually got a hit, at least one of us. So we had some really good court chemistry there too. But yeah, everyone just sort of picked it up at the end, and we were all hitting our targets. And I feel like our team in particular has really good positive energy. We have a good time. We all like each other, and that just makes it so much more enjoyable and fun. And even if somebody messes up here and there, we're still really supportive of each other. So I had a great time during co-ed.
Nice. Let's see. So going with you, Jeff. So, I mean, you guys took it. Congrats. But can you kind of walk me through your guys' I guess you're saying, for lack of better words, like your journey? Were there any teams that really gave you guys a hard time, or what was that like?
Yeah. So our road, honestly, most of our games were pretty close. We have this was like a lot of our times first time playing together, like as a full team. We've all kind of played together before, but just in pieces. Like one person played with him, but it was our first time fully playing together. So doing like round robin and an early bracket, we were kind of still figuring out how to like mesh together well and make our play calls. Our game against Incursion was pretty fun. That was like we 4-1 them, but every game came down to pretty close. That's like Mike McGee's team. And the one game that we lost was when Mike McGee decided to actually throw right-handed, which was terrifying. He's throwing left-handed the entire time.
Oh, because is it because of his hand? He's still kind of holding back, or
his elbow?
His elbow.
Yeah, his right arm's not. His doctor said that he shouldn't be throwing with his right arm, so he's been throwing left-handed and like behind the back, and it's still terrifying. But it's just unfair going up against him sometimes.
What's
Chris Wheeler got blasted point blank by him with the right hand. That was bad, but yeah, once we figured them out pretty well, we kind of took most of the games.
What happened with his elbow? Was that a new injury, or?
I think he said it was something with his bicep.
Yeah, I think he tore the bicep during, was it Worlds or was it during Nationals? I can't remember.
I've heard Worlds that he messed it up with the foam. Or no, yeah, Worlds is foam.
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah.
So he like broke his hand during Nationals and then went off to like destroy his arm in Worlds.
Yeah.
That sucks. Poor guy. But and so he's been playing left-handed. Is he still I mean, you're saying like he's still pretty scary when he does throw, but like how's that change his game? Like is it pretty dramatic, or?
It definitely puts like a handicap on him, just the fact that like when he goes up to throw, you don't have to worry about it as much. But I mean, his left-handed throw is still just as good as some people's strong hand throw.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Playing against him weekly at practice, his left arm is still stronger than a lot of people's right, but he's not nearly as accurate. So you still need to be aware of it, but it's not as nearly as terrifying as it is when he's throwing righty.
Man.
Yeah, there's not quite as much sting to it at practice either. It's like before it was like phenomenal and scary and would like leave a bruise almost instantaneously. And now it's like, okay, you're going to hit me. You're probably going to get me out, but I'm not like, curled up in a ball.
Yeah, I'm not bleeding internally after this.
Right.
He's also not really playing corner or pump faking a lot. And like a lot of Mikey's game is just being a terrifying corner and pump faking you to jump early or throwing through your blocks. And that's something he's lacking without being able to throw it 100%.
I can see how that takes a lot of pressure off. He threw at me during West round 3 and anticipating it was going to be high, jumped up to try to catch it, but he actually placed a little bit lower, so it hit my knee, and it just took off. Like, I think the ball is still flying in the air, just kept going. And I was like, man, he hits people in the face with throws like that. That's not good. But yeah, powerful guy. Sorry, I just didn't mean to cut you off earlier, but I wanted to just get some updates on him, because I thought his right hand was healed, but it sounds like he's got other stuff to worry about, which sucks. But how was your match against Awesome? What's that like playing against them, especially in something as high stakes as single elimination?
Yeah, that was our toughest matchup, and that one felt good because I was playing against my brothers, and they knocked us out in open. And it seems like every time I match up against them, they always have my number, and they always knock me out. So,
Frankie's celebrating.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That one again was pretty back and forth. Like they would take one, we would take one, and then we went up 2 on them, so we had a little bit of a buffer there. But for the most part, a big part of the reason why we won that was because Kyle Sander on our team was just rocketing throws. He was making a lot of good heads up plays too. Like Matt counters a lot, so he was really aware of that and doing a good job of avoiding Matt's throws. And he was just a force that game.
Gotcha. What happened? Sorry, Frankie, I'm going to call you out. But what happened with your battle in Nightshift? 4-0. Sorry, I couldn't put that more sensitively, but what happened there?
Yeah, so when we played them in round robin, it was really close. So we actually felt pretty good going to the finals. We thought we might be able to hang a little bit, but they're 5 deep with arms and no sting. And then they're also 4 to 5 deep with catching and no sting. And then there are girls too, Megan Fricker, Joanne, and then I think Emily was the other girl. Like they're just top to bottom really deep, and none of them seemed tired. And there are some games where we were like chipping away, and like we might get Jeff out and we might get Kyle out, but then Matt Levine would like catch 2 of us. Or just like if they got ball control, they would be able to just kind of like tee off and go down the line. It was just, they were too much for us at that point. And I think we had a much tougher road than them. A lot of our games were closer, and it was really like we were giving it our all the whole time. Not to say you guys weren't trying, but like we were definitely pushed to our limits throughout the whole time. So I think by the time we played them, we might have been a little slower than we needed to be, and they didn't take it easy. They just kind of trampled over us.
They were just ready.
Yeah. We came off that awesome win too. So after that, like we all wanted it real bad.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean,
we were just excited to be in the final.
Like, we're okay with this. This works for us, maybe.
We're normally like a 5 or 6 seed, 5th, 6th place kind of team. So pushing to the finals was awesome for us. And
yeah.
Okay, so that's.
Wish it was a little more competitive, but.
That's a pretty big improvement then on your guys' part. A good showing overall.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Also, I meant to ask you earlier, Jeff. Hello. What's behind that? Why the name Hello?
It's just it started off as a little dumb inside joke between me and Chris Wheeler, and then we kind of just ran with it there, and so we're coming up with a bunch of ideas for like jerseys and everything. So it kind of just took off from there, and now it's going to be just more of a fun team than like serious in that sense.
Gotcha. But winning while having fun, apparently. So let's go ahead and just do some like high level takeaways in terms of like teams and players, and then we'll move on to open. But we'll start with you, Emily. Was there anything else that you wanted to kind of pitch in, or just that you noticed overall from this division from co-ed?
I mean, I felt like in the elimination games, like Frankie said, the first game that we had against Darkside, although I think they've gotten a lot stronger than they were from last year, from what I can remember of their play. So, but it was a sort of a way for us to get our bearings, get our gel. And then everything from there on out was a pretty hard battle, like we've been saying. So I just think the level of competition with this no sting with co-ed is really high. And I'm sort of interested to see next year when the rules change and you have to have 3 women on the court. I just really wonder what that's going to be like. I'm excited for that. But yeah, I'm someone who's like, all right, I want to play this game. I want to do the best that I can. And then I just try to forget about it and move on to the next game. So I'm not a great player to sort of remember sort of takeaways, but at least for our team, I think NAR was a huge pickup for us. So that was really helpful.
Gotcha. And you guys have been playing. Co-ed had been no-sting this whole time, right? That's not new.
No.
Is that correct? Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously there wasn't any like huge changes. Again, just the West bias speaking, but I'm curious to see how that's going to go. But we'll obviously talk about that next episode. But how about you, Frankie? How about any like last high-level takeaways for co-ed overall?
Yeah, I'll shout out a few players for you. So Tama on Zero had a game where he absolutely smoked us. And I think Amanda's freaking out on the video right now because I probably stole hers. But it was really fun to watch. And Zero also had a guy that transitioned from trampoline. I think his name is CJ Berger. He was playing really well. On Aftershock, I don't know a specific player that was playing well. Their whole team was. Like, obviously, Wyatt throws really hard, but that whole team, they always excel in no-sting. Like, if they have a rough series in Open, you can always expect them to sneak into, like, close to the top 4, if not get past that in no-sting. And they were really good. And then on Mount Olympus, Dean Testa and Tyrell, I didn't play against them, but I refed a couple of their games and watched a couple, and those two are really killing it in no-sting.
Gotcha.
And that's my list.
Nice. Amanda, do you have any after Frankie stole your thunder?
Yeah, my biggest shout out was going to be just Zero as a whole, their whole team walking into it. I had caught the end of them playing Woke, and I was Woke is like the half of Anarchy. Anarchy also split to become Woke in Incursion. And so that was Billy Schmidt, Casey Moses. I'm blanking on the rest of the team, but it's a strong team. So watching Woke ending up taking them out 4-3, I was nervous going into Woke, and rightfully so, because Tama was amazing on the right corner. Carl Scholl was scary on the left corner. All of their guys could throw. They were making catches. Michelle Radley, at one point, we were I think we were up 3-0 on them, and we had 3 people left in, and we all threw at Michelle Radley, and she, of course, came out of it with a catch that ended up turning into them winning. So their whole team was just played really well,
Nice,
which was awesome to see. And then I think I was a little surprised to see GOAT not make it farther than they did, because they had a lot of great players, but then seeing that they match up against Zero first, it now makes a little more sense, I guess, because Zero was on fire.
Steve, let me throw a little shade because Justin listens to these.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God.
No, Justin knows his no-sting game, and I'm happy to play him anytime in no-sting where it's a little more in my favor for once. Shout out to Justin and Dre there.
That wasn't too shady. That wasn't too bad. I was expecting.
That's East Coast shade. We're a little nicer.
Gotcha. That's probably why. Yeah, I was curious to see how they're going to turn out, because I think one of the new additions was Jenny, obviously, and then but I guess we'll have to see what future rounds play out. And last but definitely not least, how about you, Jeff? Would you any major takeaways just overall that you wanted to get in before we move on to Open?
Yeah, just the biggest shock team for me was probably Zero, just because like I know that all like the players on there are good individually, but it was interesting to see how they all came together as a team without like much practice together, and they did really good. Individual players, I'll go with what Frankie said. Dean Testa, I hate to give it to him, but he had my number that entire time in those things. He just, anytime I was without a ball, he was just didn't let me breathe.
Just going straight for you.
Yeah.
And his name is Dean Testa?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard that name a few times. At least I've seen it on Facebook, but definitely somebody to look out for. And I'm curious to see how Zero's going to play out. Well, cool. So let's just continue with Open. And Frankie, I mean, Justin's not here to defend himself, but I wanted to ask, like, what did GOAT look like? I was surprised that they didn't go all the way. So, from your observation, like, how they look?
So overall in open, in like round robin, I didn't get to see them much because we were on the other side. They were on the side with Anarchy, and then our side had Arkham, Clutch Mode, Zero, Impact. We had a lot of talent on our side, so I didn't really see them too much. In the playoffs when we played them, the games were a little closer than the score looks. Unfortunately, there was a lot of like ref issues in our game on both sides. Like, I feel like every game, both sides felt something was like called wrong, and it was a little messy. But overall, a lot of games came down to like individual plays. There was a game where Dre like jumped and caught a ball, and then I think he like blocked another and immediately hit someone. I had a game with 2 catches when I was the last one left. Dan O'Hara had a game where he caught one when he was one of the last ones left. So it was a little bit more back and forth than the score reflects. They've had a bit of turnover too. They lost a player from last year, and then they picked up Sean and Nar. So you could argue they're stronger arm-wise. I guess, honestly, they just kind of ran into us, and we were playing well. I think in round robin, they only dropped 2 or 3 series, so they did pretty well in round robin. But in the playoffs, we were able to edge them out in the close games, and we took it 4-1.
Gotcha. Let's see, who else did you guys play against? So you guys played against Space Cadets, took them 4-2.
That game was closer than the score as well.
Yeah.
We actually went up 2-0, and then they smoked us the third game, and then the fourth game, I don't remember exactly, but I think I remember it being one of those kind of like BS games where there's like ricochets or like not double catch, but like a lot of like weird catches and stuff. And then we put it together and finished them off, but that was way scarier than it needed to be. And they beat us at Nationals, so they're like always hyped to play us now.
Nice. So you got to answer them back for Nationals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. What was and maybe we can take this one too, Jeff. But playing against Awesome, how did that go? I think you made the comment earlier that you were happy you beat them.
Yeah, it went about how it did every other time. We haven't really played full Team Awesome before as our Team Impact, so it was definitely a learning curve for us. Because like Awesome is just, they have that chemistry where most of the players have been playing together for a while, like their core has been, and our team just hasn't actually had a full matchup against them before, so it was a big learning curve. I don't think that a lot of our players knew what Awesome's plays were, so we really didn't know how to predict what was coming.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's a good like learning experience for next round, more or less.
Yeah. Yeah, because our matchups before that were like Mount Olympus and Aftershock, and we play them all the time in local tournaments, so we really knew how to play them pretty well.
Yeah, so speaking of Mount Olympus, Dominic's playing on that team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just out of curiosity, maybe get to see him play. Like, how does he look?
He was making some nice catches. Did he catch Drew at one point, Frankie?
I don't remember. Because we had them in round robin too, I think. They were on our half. Yeah, our half of the bracket, the round robin felt so strong. Like, I don't think there were any easy games.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because, again, talking to him and the fact that he's just filmed every single event, I was curious to see how he's going to look. To be in
I know he's happy to be playing. Very happy.
I'll bet. Do you guys have any comments on clutch mode? How do they look? They look like they went pretty far until Anarchy took them out.
Yeah, we played them in round robin. Their whole team can catch at this point, and they've had a lot of turnover. There was a team Z-Warriors last year, and them in clutch mode kind of mixed up some players into just clutch mode now, and then I think a couple old clutch mode players on other teams like Bulls and Aftershock. So I think they're a team that kind of had a rougher time in round robin, but started to really feel it once they hit the playoffs. I don't think their game against Anarchy was too competitive, but I think they beat some pretty good teams to get there. Okay, so they beat Zero, who was on fire in round robin. They smoked they smoked us in the round robin. That was our worst loss of the day. We might as well have not even shown up to that game. It was just like a brutal 2-0 loss. And then they beat Bulls, who's a new team. It's got a lot of young kids. And when I say young kids, I actually mean young kids. They're like 18.
Oh, man, they're actually children.
And they got a nice upset over the 4 seed, a New York team named Nice. So I think they were feeling pretty good. But Clutch Mode was in their groove by then, so they were able to make it into the top 4.
Gotcha.
So speaking of that, I think this is a case of where the best of 7 really impacted things. So my fiance is on Zero, and I didn't get to see their game because it was happening during our elimination matches. But, I came in to see how they were doing, and they were already knocked out. And I asked him what happened, and he said, we played Clutch Mode, and we took the first 2 games, and in a normal situation, that would have been enough for them to move on and for Clutch Mode to be knocked into the losers bracket. But then because it was the 7 or best of 7, Clutch Mode came back and ended up winning the next 4. And I mean, he wasn't upset. It was this team's first time playing together, but I think that just goes to show like a team that ended up coming out top 4 because it was best of 7 ended up moving on. Whereas in the old format would have been in the losers bracket really early on.
Yeah. Again, that's another benefit about this whole best of 7 thing for single, because how many times do you hear like, oh, we would have won that game if not for the refs or not for this one event that caused the entire series to fall apart. But if you're crying about how one bad call or one silly play took out your entire team in a 4-game series, that's I think you're being a little unrealistic there. You had your chance to come back. Regarding Bulls Nation, Abdul Saeed, he asked about them. So they're just a brand new team of kids, or are they coming from UDC, or where are they coming from?
High school.
Fair. Nice.
2 of them play in local stuff. Jordan Shelley is captaining them. He's someone that he's young, but he plays nonstop. Like he's in 2 leagues. He comes to every tournament. And he's really working on it. So it's good to see them have a little bit of success and get into the top 8. They also have some people that used to be on Clutch Mode. They have Dalton Zymer and Will Bethard. I don't know their other players, but Dalton and Will are both pretty good. Dalton can throw really hard. Will can catch really well. Do you know, Jeff?
They have Kyle Roth, too.
Well, yeah, but he's not playing right now because he's hurt.
Oh, was he not? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I think they probably I didn't get to watch it, but they definitely beat a team that was higher seeded than them, and then they took 2 games off Clutch Mode, so they had a good first tournament. I know they were really happy. I was talking to Jordan later.
Oh, good. So this is a team that's going to come back and keep fighting, more or less.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did you guys have any comments on Kill the Comp? I don't know if there's controversy around that one or what that is, but I think Vince asked. And so, he did Kill the Comp, which, I mean, bracket says no, but is there some background on them?
So they are a UDC team that is transitioning to Elite, which is awesome. I think they also have a player or 2 from another UDC team called Bullets. In round robin, they definitely did not kill the comp. I didn't see them playing well. They're on our side, but they got into the playoffs and they won their play-in game, and then they played Anarchy, and that game was 4-3. Game 7, crazy. I think it was down to like a 3-on-2. The whole gym was watching it because that series took a while. They're a team that's very athletic, and they don't play normal dodgeball. Like they like to do crazy stuff, so you're throwing all your balls, and they'll push you when you have burden, and you'll start throwing catches because you throw solo when you were trying to get ready for a team throw. And that's probably what happened. We were playing at the same time, so I only saw the last game, and in that game they were catching Anarchy a little bit. But they definitely, by the time they got to the bracket, were killing the comp, Vince.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think that's part of what helped Space Cadets get such a good showing in nationals because they were just playing, for lack of better words, unconventional dodgeball, and it was throwing a lot of teams off, and they couldn't recover in time. Looks like that almost was the case with Anarchy, but possibly because they got to play 7 games, they were able to overcome it. But that would have been interesting if they had won. because then they would have gone off to play Arkham and Clutch Mode, so that could be a completely different bracket we'd be looking at.
Yeah, Anarchy's road is really interesting because they, in round robin, I mean, they just went through everyone. I think they maybe had 2 game losses total. And so they probably played almost as many games in the bracket as they did earlier because a lot of their series went to like 4-3. 3 of their series went to 4-3 and 1 was 4-1. And after playing Kill the Comp, who's very unconventional, they went and played Arkham, who is very slow and methodical, and they're willing to play a 10-minute game just to get that win. Right. And so that went to 4-3 for them too. And by the time we played them in the finals, you could tell they were a little more gassed than they're used to being.
Yeah, I mean, so that's like 2 back-to-back 7 games before they got to clutch mode. Looks like they were able to coast a little bit there, but then they had to play another 7-game series with you guys. So I could definitely see some fatigue setting in there.
Yeah.
Jeff or Frankie, have you guys any thoughts on Taken or any impressions on them? That was one of the new teams that was brought up as well.
I think they just got to iron out some kinks. They're all new to Elite, so I think they're just not used to they all play locally, and they do well locally, but I think that just more of a step up for them when teams are like fully stacked teams and playing to their top level at that point. And I think it was just more of like a shock to them at that point.
Gotcha. Just got to get indoctrinated first and then come back after that first event. How about Bloom?
So Bloom is a team that Jonathan Quo captains. He used to play in a lot of New York leagues, and he's moved to Philly, so he plays with Jeff and I. So I think half of that team is probably used to playing 8.5. The other half is probably used to playing no sting, but they catch pretty well, so that'll let them upset some teams sometimes. And they have a really good cheer. They do 2 hands in their huddle before the game. I caught that a couple times. It looked pretty cool.
Nice. Is that part of like the Bloom, I'm guessing, or
yeah,
just being silly? Very cool. And sorry for leaving you out of this, Emily. I'm just assuming you were busy with women, so I don't think you got too much insight on Open or.
Yeah, I really only got to see the finals game.
Any takeaways from that that you noticed, or?
They were some really, really close games. They were super exciting to watch, and Amanda, Kate, and I were just really sidelining it for Awesome, trying as best we could to help them out, shag balls, cheer for them, and they came out with the win, and we were super psyched about it.
Nice. Yeah, I was watching the stream last night, and I saw both of you like, oh, sweet, yay, takeaways, but I forget. It's hard to remember every little minute thing, too. How about you, Frankie? Like, just overall, because I do want to spend some time on some of these questions that I got, and just kind of go like I won't say rapid fire, but before we do that, just kind of recapping overall, just your thoughts on Open Division.
Yeah. So going into the bracket, I think seeding was really important. Like Jeff said, we play them pretty often, and we'd rather play them at the 4th place game than Anarchy. And we actually were tied with Jeff's team. Who else was tied with us? Oh, Nice, Impact, and Awesome were all tied for match wins. And then we got the tiebreaker for game win percentage by like 1.4%. So that gave us the road that we kind of wanted to get to the finals. And then in the finals, Anarchy went up 3-1, but we never lost faith, and we were able to get some good plays. Andy and Chris both played really, really well in the finals. Sam played well. Everyone else had moments, and it just kind of all came together. And after last year, it felt really good to get a round win. And then just overall, I enjoyed Open a lot. There are a lot of new faces. Like I said earlier, a lot of new teams, or if not new teams changed up their rosters a lot. So it felt like it was a pretty refreshing round. There's just a lot of newness and a lot of fun around that.
Awesome. Let's see. What about so So I want to go back real quick before I forget. Billy, so I messaged him about this kill the comp thing, asking like, hey, what was the deal behind that? It's like a sideburn or some kind. But Billy did want to say that he wanted to give his props to Kill the Comp. So before I forget, I just wanted to throw that in there. But how about you, Jeff? Overall takeaways for Open?
My biggest takeaway was just that I think that the top 4 teams are the top 4 that should be there.
Yeah, there isn't anybody like, not to diss on anybody, but it's like, hey, what are they doing there? Like that's pretty much what you'd expect.
Yeah, and like that's kind of what really changed my perspective on the single elimination, because I was worried about that going into it, that there might be a team that just had like an easier road to get to the top 4. But after seeing the results of this round, the top 4 are the top 4 that I believe should be there with how they played that round.
Yeah, I don't know how this comment's going to be received, but I'll just say it anyway. It's no offense to anybody, it's good to kind of see Team Awesome at the top because that's what I'm used to, and I don't like change. So when I think of East, I still think, oh yeah, Team Awesome was like the dominating force. It's obviously really cool that Anarchy and last year GOAT and some of these teams are stepping up, but yeah, it's kind of cool just seeing Team Awesome up there again. And then Amanda, do you have any takeaways for Open, like that you're able to see once you were?
Yeah, like Hotz said, we really only caught the end. It was exciting to watch Awesome win. I think people might be surprised, like, why are you not rooting for, the Boston team? But I think this back to when we first started playing Elite. If we weren't rooting for our own team, Davis Dodgeball, we were always rooting for Team Awesome. It's just always kind of been a friendship. And now, Frankie's on our team and Sam's on our team. I've played with a couple of the other players at different tournaments, so it was nice to see Awesome win. They're great on and off the court. We love playing with them. We love hanging out with them afterwards. I am not surprised by the 4 teams that are there based off of what I had heard about who was playing well and whatnot, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of the teams that are in like the 5 to 7 range give some of those teams a run for their money. It sounds like Kill the Comp might be able to work some things out between round 1 and round 2. So it'll be interesting to see how round 2 plays out.
Yeah.
Was it Clutchbo that had the coach on the sidelines in a suit?
Oh, what? Please tell me more.
Yeah, it was Clutchbo. He had a clipboard with plays and everything.
Yeah, it was funny. And a visor. I was like, oh yeah, definitely a coach.
That's incredible. Like an actual coach, or like kind of trolling but still kind of serving as a coach, or what was?
I think it was a little bit of trolling, but that's my assumption. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was just one of their buddies that just showed up.
That's awesome. I somehow Chris DeJesus, I'm not surprised. I mean, that guy is like the meme master and just constantly trolling people, so it just makes sense. I don't know if that was his idea, but why not? That's funny. God, I gotta go back and I gotta see footage of that or get a picture of it. Let's see. Did you guys partake in Showdown at all?
I helped run it, so I saw about half of the games.
Gotcha. How about you, Jeff?
No, I didn't play. I haven't done Showdown yet. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the cattle shoot type court.
The fact that it's like the size of a bowling alley or bowling lane, or what do you call it? Yeah. How about you, Frankie? Did you play?
I did not play. I do know that Random Draw had a nice first round matchup of Matt Levine and Kyle Sander, though.
Oh, that would be cool to see, actually.
Yeah, they're kind of doing their dodgeball journey together. They both used to play UDC, and now they're, like young guys taking the dodgeball world by storm, and they had to play each other first round, so that was pretty entertaining. That was the only one I caught.
Who came out with that win?
Matt.
Levine.
Comfortably.
Yeah, pretty easily. Yeah. Kyle kept going for catches, and at that close range, it just wasn't happening.
Gotcha. Yeah, it'd be hard to do, I think. Just if anybody's throwing. So who took it? Who won?
It's only the first round, right, Amanda?
Yeah, so there's still 16 guys in it. Okay. I think a little shockingly, Mike McGee is out of it already because of his he was playing lefty. And I forget who he played off the top of my head, but he took a match or two off of them, but just couldn't. Like I said, his left arm's not nearly as dominant or as accurate. So whoever he played, they took him out. Trying to think who else.
I know TJ Manning from our Nightshift team won his matchup. I didn't see the whole thing. I don't know who it was against, but
it was against Tim Wells.
Oh yeah.
I didn't see it, but I know that they played. TJ came out on top.
Also, little dig at Tim Wells. He threw the top of my water bottle in the garbage, just completely threw it away.
Oh, what a
so
jerk.
Now I have half a water bottle. It's like one of the ballistay ones where like the top screws off so you can put ice in it. Yeah.
How dare he?
I know.
How was Tim,
you
by the
knew
way?
someone to get you a new water bottle.
What was that?
I said if only she knew someone that could get her a new water bottle.
Yeah, I think I might know a guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hear he's not approachable at all and kind of a jerk, but we'll see. I might be able to pull some strings for you, Emily.
Thanks, guys.
How was Tim and the Rochester Tigers? I meant to ask you about them.
Yeah, so Tigers are one of those teams that is probably like in the 5 to 8 range that will always have a chance to go past that. Their big roster shakeup this year is picking up Tyler Alcantara, who is a monster, especially at 8.5. And Tim seems like he's finally back. I mean, I feel like he's always injured and like throwing weird and just there to jump or catch. But now he's good at jumping and catching off ball. So now that his throw is back to normal, he's very well rounded and definitely back up there with the good players on the East Coast.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I played with him in Sin City, him and Tyler, and man, Tyler is a scary guy, and but Tim, it was awesome playing with him because I didn't see anything holding him back. Like he was throwing pretty hard, he was catching a lot, and like he said, he was like jumping and catching and throwing like all on purpose. So he looked really good. So I was curious to see how he ended up doing or how he looks, but that's good to hear. Except for the fact that he's throwing away stuff that belongs to Emily. That sucks. All right, so let's go ahead and move into some of the crowdsourced questions. I was able to get a couple last night, and I've been saving this one for last. I wanted to see like what everybody thought, but Colin asked how many double catches will Chris, I'm assuming De Jesus, will have this season. So anybody want to take that one?
Well, it seems like he got his second one. I think he got his first one last year at round 3.
We like kind of fell out of bounds. I think I saw that.
Yeah. I didn't see this one, so maybe if he's feeling good, he'll have one per round, but he didn't have any luck at nationals, so maybe I'll say maybe 2 more.
Two
max.
Maybe people should stop throwing at his face because that's where he catches.
That's the catch zone. Well, Colin also goes on to ask like who will have more double catches between him and Josh Ty. So did Josh Ty get a double catch this past weekend, or?
Yeah, Josh High got a double catch on my team. Just Sean McMahon and Ryan Fricker both threw him at the same time. He's sitting on his knees, catches both of them real clean, and then brings ball up with each arm and just, Josh started dancing on everyone.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was very upset though because he didn't get it on camera. So.
Ah, dang it.
Yeah, we might have it though.
Yeah, you definitely have it.
Yeah, Ryan on our team might have it. So.
Okay, so some footage out there might exist of this double catch.
Yeah, that might have been one of the most clean double catches I've ever seen, though.
That was gonna be my next question. Like, was this like an almost like intentional one, or was it just kind of, hey, 2 balls just fell in my bear hug attempt of a catch? But
yeah, it kind of was like both balls just happened to go there, but he like just when he brought them both out, he like brought them up to his shoulders, like one in each hand. He made it look beautiful. So
of course, I love how you're like, and Josh, just like, yep, say no more. That's awesome. So I will put you on the spot, Emily. Who are you gonna weigh in on? Who's gonna have more double catches by the end of this season, Josh, Ty, or Chris?
I mean, I got a lot of love for Joshua Ty. I think he's gonna come out with the most.
I agree.
Team Josh.
100%.
Frankie, how about you?
I'm going to go with Chris.
Oh. All right. about you, Jeff? You're nodding. I think you're Team Josh.
I think Chris will, because he goes for more, and I think he positions himself better for the double catch.
Gotcha. Especially if they're throwing it at his face, I guess. So it's a tie. I'm curious to see how that's gonna play out. I won't weigh in. I don't want to get involved. So Sergio asked, did any new wrinkles in Elite, like no flight kills with 7, impact the teams or players? And we kind of covered best of 7, definitely covered single elimination, but this no flight kill thing. So I had to get clarification. You can still take somebody out, right? You just can't run back. That's the main difference.
Right. You just get out when you touch down on the other side of the court. And I'm not sure which team it was. I know there was one team that was having a competition, actually, of who could get the most flight kills. It was, I think, between a guy and a girl. Did anyone catch which team this was? No. But I know there was a flight kill on the women's side. I saw a flight kill during co-ed as well. You just got to wait until you're stacked with a bunch of players and there's only 1 or 2 people left on the other side. And if you feel like you can take it and sacrifice yourself, you just do that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't. So you guys might remember it used to be called like a suicide, right? I mean that's I think some people still call it that, like an NDL term. But the whole idea was whether you get them out or not, you're done. Like that's the whole point of a suicide. So I wonder if just wonder how the rest of the rounds are going to play out and see if that's going to hang anybody up. But yeah, I don't think. I think we covered pretty much any other. Like there wasn't any other big changes that I'm missing, right? I mean, it was single elimination, best of 7, no flight kills. I want to say that's about it, right? Like there isn't like blaringly obvious change.
I think
more people. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the one rule that I think people had a lot of questions about was the burden and when the refs are supposed to start the count of the burden. And maybe I'll leave that up to either Amanda or Frankie because they're really good with the rules, but I feel like I'm still not totally sure. But it sounds like on the side of the burden, you need to have all of the balls in on the court before the burden starts to be counted. So if there's 4 balls, then you need to wait for that 4th ball no matter what the color is. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong here.
So Mark and I actually talked today to discuss how round 1 went. And that was my big feedback to him was make sure that this is explicitly clear with your refs and your players on the West Coast. Cause it was a question on a lot of courts, both women's and open, co-ed even still. But according to our interpretation of the rules, and how Serge, who was on the rule committee, responded to a question that Matt Gio had on the rules in the Elite page. Emily described it right. So all balls need to be on the court on the side of burden before burden can start. And that was a point of contention for a couple different teams and a couple different refs. But Mark is planning to clarify all of that because I believe West Coast round 1 is next weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So he's going to make sure that it is explicitly clear moving forward.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea because, the West Coast, we're all very vocal people. So,
yeah, that was just going to be my comment was that I feel like the other big change was that every player had to pass the rule test, which I know was stressful for a few people, maybe a lot of people, but I think there was way less questions from teams about rules this year than there has been in the past. I felt like most players knew the rules. They knew when something happened that they were out or they knew why their teammates were out. So I feel like, that part stressed a lot of people out. It also helped the flow of the day to go better because people weren't constantly coming up and asking rule clarification questions and things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So not so much for that last one, not so much like a change to the actual game. It's just
format, but
format and more is being expected of you as an elite player. Like you are, I think you're pretty much being treated like an actual athlete in a professional organization. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Tedious, but I know it's awesome. And just going to help out in the long run. But so go ahead and wrap this up. But I do want to ask one last question. And this we'll do it like the true round table format. And I just think this is good, especially since you guys have a lot of experience. And, we did talk about some of the new teams that came out, but Abdul asked, what were your thoughts on some of the newer teams that came out this year? Kind of talked about them, but the part I really like is just what advice would you give to them that may not have had the best start, or just, trying to keep them motivated to come back? And we'll start with you, Emily, if you have any takeaways or any advice or guidance that you'd like to put out.
I think for the newer teams that came out, a big part of it's just going to be getting used to playing together. But I think just having strong corners, and that's going to be something that you figure out with time, but having your strong throwers who are going to play aggressive defense, that's where you got to put them. And I think as much as possible to come up with, 1, 2, maybe 3 plays that are pretty easy to remember, but just to have those go-tos. I know it's hard for newer teams, especially if they're not practicing together or don't get that time to play together beforehand. I know that's difficult, but I feel like the teamwork has always been something that's made a really big difference on the teams that I play on.
Nice. So don't go crazy with like play calling. Don't overcomplicate things. Just kind of take stuff a step at a time and just really work on the teamwork aspect and hang in there more or less.
Right.
Nice. How about you, Frankie? What guidance would you give?
So I would say to make sure you're being open with each other and honest, but still positive. I think a big part about dodgeball is making sure that you're always working on something and trying to improve at something. And if you're not willing to let a teammate give you a positive critique on a play after a game or maybe a tournament as a whole, you're not really going to change and get better. So if you feel like you had a rough start, feel free to solicit advice from your team, other players, but keep working at it, keep grinding.
Nice. Yeah, it's so again, say what you will about the hashtag Dodgeball family, but I have seen some people say like, hey, how do I throw harder, or how do I do better at catching, or how do I not be so tired? And it seems like people are willing to help and give advice and good constructive criticism if you're open to it. So that's huge. I mean, that will help anybody improve dramatically if you just don't take anything personally and just be open and receptive to pointers, for lack of better words. How about you, Jeff? What guidance would you give or advice?
Yeah, I think you just need to be honest with each other, critique what your mistakes were, and you need to realize what your mistakes are. And then also, I feel like always practicing together helps out. You got to build chemistry. And then as far as like when you go up against teams that you're not too familiar with, you need to study up and learn what their tendencies are and learn what mistakes they make and then how to capitalize on those mistakes.
Nice. And Amanda, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with the communication piece. I think our current women's team has a ton of open communication. We're like constantly discussing different things we want to try and being really open of like, no, that won't work, or let's wait on trying that, which has been really nice this year. I think something we did recently that was helpful was watching some footage. We didn't even necessarily watch footage of teams we were playing against, but teams we look up to, and kind of to see some like strategies that they use that we might want to implement on defense, on offense, different things. That was really helpful. And just going out and playing as much as possible. So our team for both Royale and Nightshift, we haven't played together for Royale ever, and Nightshift with the addition of NAR, we haven't played together before, or since last season. But just playing regularly against, the Anarchy guys, and some really good players in our leagues, the more you play, the better you're going to get. So like, if you're only playing each round, then it's going to be hard to improve. But if you're constantly playing against good players, and looking for places to improve, your blocking game, your catching game, focusing on different things, it's a good place to start.
Nice. Yeah, it's cool. You guys can practice and sharpen your swords, for lack of better words, on with Anarchy. Like I made the comment to one of my teammates, I think it was Izzy, like we have Ketchum to play with and against. So, I mean, that's both a blessing and a curse. But I mean,
yep.
You really can't ask for a better trainer than someone like him or somebody of his caliber. So, very cool. I think we'll go ahead and just wrap it up there. Definitely curious and excited to see how these rest of the rounds play out. And I was just remembering, like, being, I don't want to say not nervous, but just completely in the dark kind of about East when we started the panels last year. But then by round 3, I was like, oh, I remember this name. I remember this person's progression, this team. So I'm real excited to seeing that growth again and get to know the region some more. But I think that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for hopping on. And Jeff, thanks for coming in last minute. That was really cool of you. Appreciate it. And if we bring you back up again, definitely can give you more warning next time so you can kind of plan around it. But I think we'll go ahead and just end the interview there. Alrighty, so that was a recap of the Elite Round 1 East tournament that took place on Saturday, March 2nd. And thank you guys so much, Amanda, Emily, Frankie, and Jeff for hopping on, especially Jeff for hopping on last minute. Literally just plucked you from your evening plans, and I really appreciate that. As always, it's great to just get to know the teams more. And I definitely need to shake up the cobwebs and start remembering, or re-remembering rather, some of the team names and players and just get to know the East more. And I'm really looking forward to doing that with the other divisions as well. So if you have any feedback on how this recap went, please let me know, whether it's good or bad or just suggestions and improvements. I know I sent out that survey last year. I did get some good feedback, but I'm always open to it. I'm always trying to make things better and just do the teams and players and the sport justice. So feel free to come at me with any comments on that anytime. And then also huge congratulations to Team Awesome for taking Open, Hello for taking Co-Ed, and Royale for taking Women's. Again, just going back to getting to know the division, it's really exciting to be able to see or project how these teams are gonna progress throughout the year and what's gonna come our way come nationals. So all good stuff, and holy crap, Elite's here. So on that note, I'll just kind of stop now and just get ready for the round 1 recap for West coming up next week. Anyway, if you're still with me, have a great rest of your evening, a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for doing this and being so, I don't want to say meticulous, but like just so organized. I think you're my favorite panel to work with so far, so I'm really excited for future ones.
Go East Coast!
Yeah.
I might keep that. I'll throw that in there somewhere.
Oh, God.
Awesome. Very
Blooper
cool.
reel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, towards the end, it'll definitely be like the blooper at the end that some people might pick up on actually happens or not, so...